Greetings, this is Michael Swain. Many people are aware that on Wednesday the 2nd of April, after a trial that lasted 8 years, Judge Irma Schoeman handed down a not guilty verdict to Timothy Omotoso and his co-accused, who face multiple charges of rape, sexual assault, human trafficking, and racketeering. Now, we stand with millions of South Africans who express horror and shock at a justice system that has failed us once again. Our hearts and our prayers go out to the survivors who took the brave step to come forward and to testify, hoping for justice to be served, and who now feel disappointed and betrayed. This case has once again drawn attention to the state of our justice system and its urgent need for reforms. What is particularly shocking about this case, perhaps, is the fact that the accused pretended to be a religious leader and abused that position of trust to gain access to his victims. Yet it is clear that this was nothing but a criminal front. The fact that Timothy Omotoso claims to be a pastor does not make this a religious crime. A crime is a crime. It doesn't matter if you're a pastor, a politician, or a postman. The same criminal law applies equally to all. And to be clear, the right to religious freedom is not, and never has been, a defense or an excuse for committing a crime. It's also important to remember, in a criminal case, that the person accused is presumed innocent until proven guilty. Now, that means the prosecution must prove that the accused is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And in this case, the state prosecutor failed dismally to clear this hurdle of evidence, which meant that the judge had no option but to acquit. This is the beauty and the frailty of a democratic justice system. Its frailty emerges clearly when justice is delayed or fails to meet public expectations. It feels deeply unsatisfying when technicalities, procedural errors, or insufficient evidence lead to outcomes that seem unjust and leave victims without closure and a society looking for someone to blame. In the case of Timothy Omotoso, we must point the finger of blame clearly where it lies. Judge Schoeman was clear when she savagely and severely criticized the state's handling of the case. She referred to the state's cross-examination of the three accused, saying, and I quote, "It was as if it never even took place. 9 days were allocated for this purpose, but the cross-examination of Timothy Omotoso lasted literally less than a morning." She also slammed the state prosecutor's handling of the case, citing the irregularities he committed, which essentially corrupted the trial and rendered it unfair. To quote her words, "It is inconceivable that a prosecutor with 14 years' experience does not know what the definition of rape is. This is either extremely incompetent or dishonest." Now, as we consider the next steps as a nation, we must ensure that we have helpful conversations so that this type of situation is avoided in future and that women and children are kept safe and protected by the law as they should be. 4SA is adamant that this outcome cannot and must not be used and misconstrued as a case in point to paint the entire faith community in a bad light. The vast and overwhelming majority of religious leaders of all faiths spend their lives serving faithfully their communities and playing a vital role in strengthening the moral fabric of our society. Timothy Omotoso and others like him are the exception, not the rule. Secondly, we need to resist and refute any opportunistic calls for state regulation of religion under the guise of protecting women and children. This is not the solution, but rather a distraction from the actual problems at hand. Laws already exist to address criminal and unlawful acts, which apply equally to all. Instead, the outcome of this case highlights the problem that our extensive laws are simply not being applied or enforced properly or effectively. This is entirely due to a lack of capacity or incompetence from the state authorities. More laws will not solve this problem. Blanket blaming of all religious leaders and proposing unconstitutional state regulation of religion is emphatically not the solution. It is evident in this case that the state has failed the victims abysmally. 4SA therefore calls on government to increase significantly its investment in and its support for a competent and efficient law enforcement and judicial process. This alone will ensure the swift and successful prosecution of criminals and justice for their victims. We also call on religious leaders and all other members of religious communities to not tolerate any form of abuse and to report any criminal activity to the relevant authorities without delay. We need a justice system that is equipped to deal with all criminals, not legislation that targets religious leaders and offers no hope of addressing the real issues and problems that continue to deprive victims of justice. Thank you.
Good day. This is Nobukosi Zulu, legal advisor at 4SA. Remember to like and share this video and then click on the subscribe button to make sure you never miss our video updates on vital religious freedom issues.